This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, the government announces the full opening of New Zealand borders 2 months ahead of schedule. A space balloon's launch from Wanaka is postponed due to windy weather. And educational support staff who don't get COVID leave petition the government for change. Kia ora, good evening. I'm Hannah Wilkins. The Prime Minister has announced the full reopening of New Zealand's travel borders will be 2 months earlier than initially planned. Originally slated for October, Aotearoa will now be largely open again to the world by August.
The message from the government: New Zealand is in demand and now fully open for business, a few months earlier than originally planned.
Today, I can announce that New Zealand fully reopens to the world by July 31, completing our reconnecting work 2 months ahead of schedule.
Speaking virtually this afternoon, Jacinda Ardern says the country is now ready to be pretty much business as usual. The staged border reopening started with Australia in April, followed by other major countries like the US and UK at the start of May. Aotearoa will now reopen to all other countries at the end of July, across all visa categories, including tourists, workers, families and students. Tourism operators say New Zealand's pre-departure COVID testing rules are a barrier when competing for tourists with Australia. Those requirements are now also set to go.
But we will be able to change up the role that pre-departure testing has played. Now, while we're still working through this transition, it's fair to say we are confident pre-departure testing will be removed by the time we come to the final phase of our reopening in July.
The PM revealed a recent trip to Singapore was eye-opening in terms of seeing how the port operated in relation to freight and passenger ships. It's among the factors prompting the government's decision to reopen the maritime borders at the same time.
And we're giving enough time for our cruise ship industry to prepare for the next big season starting in October. I know this will be welcome news, and it's a phase we are ready for.
Changes on the immigration front include a new green list of more than 85 hard-to-fill roles. That's designed to attract and retain high-skilled workers and fill skill shortages across healthcare, education, trade and tech sectors. Wanaka businesses were this week forced to close due to staff shortages, but Ardern says help is at hand.
Now, the streamlined accredited employer work visa process combines 6 visas into one and uses a simple 3-step process: an employer check, a job check and a worker check.
She admits times are tough for people with rising inflation, but believes New Zealand's come out of the global pandemic in better economic shape than many other nations. Across the South Today.
A surprise resignation this afternoon, with the Chief Executive of the Otago Regional Council stepping down from her role. Sarah Gardner is leaving the ORC, with the organisation under investigation by both the Environment Minister and regional councillors. Tensions between staff and councillors have also disrupted business as usual operations. Gardner was the Regional Council's first female Chief Executive and said she was excited to take on the role at the end of 2017. In a statement this afternoon, she said she'd been thinking of resigning for some time. Sarah Gardner's last day is next Wednesday, May the 18th. The planned launch of NASA's super pressure balloon from Wanaka was cancelled this morning, just an hour before liftoff. The team working on the launch say the wind was too strong to safely launch the stadium-sized balloon.
Cancelled for today after weeks of preparations. The team working on NASA's super pressure balloon project started getting ready at Wanaka Airport early this morning. But weather conditions forced the team to pull the plug on the first launch of 2022 just an hour before its scheduled departure time of 10 a.m. Very still conditions are needed for the launch, but Balloon Programme Office Chief Deborah Fairbrother says there was a crosswind of more than 6 knots.
We got the payload out to the flight line, we drove the balloon out to the flight line. Unfortunately, the winds did not cooperate today.
The 25-strong team of staff and contractors have spent several weeks getting the balloon ready for a long-duration test flight around the Southern Hemisphere. Fairbrother says launching the nearly 2.5-tonne stadium-sized balloon safely is a tricky business.
One of my crew chiefs said, he wouldn't even lay out a zero-pressure balloon, let alone this super-pressure balloon, which is a little more difficult to launch.
NASA has previously had 3 successful balloon flights from Wanaka, but it's used to having a number of launches called off due to the weather. Despite today's setback, Fairbrother says they're still gaining useful skills from each attempt.
So we've cancelled for today, and we'll see what happens if weather still looks good for tomorrow or not. So hopefully they will, and we'll show again tomorrow. So we got our first practice in, and maybe tomorrow will be the real deal.
The primary goal of the flight will be to validate and certify the balloon's technology. In Wanaka, the South Today.
The Southland District Council has voted to increase the levy charged to people visiting Stewart Island. The current levy of $5 was introduced almost 10 years ago, but the council says it's insufficient to fund future visitor-related activities. Any costs not covered by the levy would need to be covered by ratepayers. Submissions had expressed concerns that increasing the mandatory levy might deter visitors from coming to the island, although the majority still supported a rise. In the final decision, councillors voted to double the visitor levy to $10 per person from October 2023, increasing that again to $15 a visitor in 2025. Southland teaching support staff are among workers campaigning for a change in government policy around COVID leave payments. While many employees have access to the COVID-19 leave support scheme, educational support staff are having to eat into their sick leave if they catch COVID.
Teaching support staff work at schools across the country, helping assist teachers and students in the classroom. But Education Union NZEI Te Reo says many support staff are struggling financially as they're not entitled to the government's COVID-19 leave support scheme, which assists many other workers, including teachers and principals.
Currently we've got teacher aides that are missing out on being paid as a result of following the guidelines around staying home when you are sick.
The union has launched a petition calling on the government to extend the COVID cover that teachers and school managers can access to their frontline colleagues as well. Currently, support staff who get COVID or need to isolate at home have that period taken off their sick leave entitlement. Matilda School teacher aide Glenda West says that means support staff are scared of becoming ill.
The fear of getting COVID and not being able to work is real.
She says some staff are hiding symptoms or not testing so they don't risk not being able to go to work. The Ministry of Education says if non-teaching staff don't have enough sick leave to cover a COVID absence, they are entitled to discretionary paid leave through their school. However, that leaves staff vulnerable if they get sick from a cold or any other reason later on. NZEI President Liam Rutherford says the stress is taking a toll on their workers and many support staff are struggling.
When they're getting COVID, they're actually having to they're having to take time away from their job, and as a result they're literally going without. I mean, these are people who have families, who have mortgages, who have power bills that have to be paid, and they're working out how do you make a smaller weekly income stretch even further.
West believes the government should be funding pandemic leave for workers like her, bringing them into line with their teaching colleagues.
The inequities are just wrong. We work with these students the same. They're vulnerable students, which therefore makes us vulnerable. My colleagues, many of them are solo parents that need their income.
Almost 8,000 people have already signed the union's petition, with the goal of hitting 10,000 signatures. Across the South Today.
G'day. Still to come on the South Today. Possible answers as to why a Kiwi-born Hollywood director was scouting locations in Otago, and the statue of a World War II veteran stands proudly in Tapanui.
We're a concerned Otago. Age Concern Otago hosts a multitude of social activities, including little walks.
Come on, mate. The blue doesn't go with the brown.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Livingwell Disability Resource Centre, a not-for-profit charitable organisation and your one-stop shop for information and resources to help you retain independence. We offer a wide range of assistive products from jar openers to mobility scooters and provide assessments for Total Mobility, the half-price taxi scheme. Come and see the friendly team. You'll find us on the corner of George and Bath Streets, ground floor of Burns House.
My mate John's Friday the 13th sale is on now. He's slashed his entire range of rock-bottom warehouse price furniture and beds up to 75% off.
And my mate John.
Spark your joy with jazz, the next generation from Honda.
Every day the team at Gillian supports grieving families at their time of need, from answering your questions to organising a farewell that reflects the wishes of your loved one. We can help. Call Gillian's today.
Tēnā koe, welcome back. The recent visit to Dunedin by a top New Zealand film director has strengthened rumours that a sequel to the 1981 film Time Bandits could be shot here. Director Taika Waititi visited Lanark Castle as well as spots in central Otago in late April, scouting locations for an unnamed project. Waititi has been widely reported as an executive producer, co-writer and director of a television series adaptation of Time Bandits. The South has already proved its worth with international movie and TV projects, with Netflix film The Royal Treatment and Dame Jane Campion's film The Power of the Dog, recently filmed at locations across the region. An international student at Otago University has launched a fundraiser to benefit people in war-torn Ukraine. And while the charity auction features typical items like restaurant vouchers, the student behind the initiative has created a traditional Ukrainian doll with magical properties.
This special handmade doll is one of the more unusual items in a Dunedin fundraiser for Ukraine. University of Otago student Yen Pokisai is contributing a traditional Ukrainian doll she made herself. Called a motumkam, the doll can function as a talisman with religious or magical powers to protect its owner.
There are different types of dolls, different shapes and everything, and you can make a doll for I don't know, to help a woman to have a child, or you can make a doll for money, you can make a doll for protection of the house. So yeah, it's a huge thing for us.
Pokisai came here from the Ukraine 4 years ago and is currently a resident at Aquinas College. Her doll's just one of a range of items going up for auction this Friday.
I'm really grateful for them making this fundraiser. So we have a lot of amazing things that were donated to us.
Items being auctioned include electronic goods and even a voucher for an overnight stay at Lanark Castle. The money raised will go to a US-based charity called Nova Ukraine, which Pokisai's friends back home have identified as doing good work in her war-torn country.
After talking with my friends in Ukraine who are volunteering, and they're doing, they're just everywhere, they're helping everyone, they strongly suggested giving it to this charity because they're very visible and they're actually helping in Ukraine.
People can join the fundraising auction in person at Aquinas College on Friday night or take part online via Facebook Live. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A high school student spent a day making a statue of a World War II soldier as a special tribute. 14-year-old Wade McIver created the replica soldier out of corrugated iron, placing it outside the country home where veteran Bill Ralston lives.
A sculpture made as a mark of respect for West Otago's last remaining World War II veteran. 14-year-old Blue Mountain College pupil Wade McIver made the soldier out of corrugated iron with the help of his grandmother, Heather Wink.
Well, we made this statue for a special person at Ribbonwood that turned 101 years old and is the only World War II living person in West Otago Health.
McIver made a pattern from the soldier which is placed outside the Tapanui RSA building every year in April. And the young man describes 101-year-old Bill Ralston as an inspiring person, and the teen wanted to pay respect to the returned serviceman for what he did for New Zealand in World War II.
Yeah, it took about 10 hours to do and it was hard work. Just trying to clip with metal clippers around the corners and using a flat file to shave off all the sharp edges.
His handiwork is set to meet part of the requirements for his Duke of Edinburgh Hilary Silver Award. Blue Mountain College teacher Vicky Crawford describes Wade McIver as a community-minded kind of person who also mows the lawns at the Tapanui RSA. In West Otago, the South Today.
Whaiakane. After the break on the South Today, the Women's Rugby World Cup trophy starts its journey up the country, and we'll take a look at the weather ahead of the weekend.
Drop when you every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
My mate John's Friday the 13th sale is on now. He slashed his entire range of rock-bottom warehouse price furniture and beds, some by 75%. No one beats John on price. Friday the 13th sale, up to 75% off, only at John's Furniture Warehouse and online at mymatejohn.co.nz.
Where did you get that furniture from? Stafford Street and my mate John.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Hi, my name's Matt and I'm the Dines Group CEO. Dines is a company that's focused on selling logistics solutions to its customers. We're passionate about selling efficiency and we've been selling efficiency for over 50 years now.
Tēnā koe, welcome back. The Women's Rugby World Cup is set to be played at grounds across Aotearoa later this year. And to help celebrate the event and promote the matches, the Women's World Cup trophy is travelling around the country, starting at New Zealand's southernmost school.
Otago Spirit winger and Women's Rugby World Cup ambassador Oceania Campbell was welcomed with a spirited haka by pupils of Stewart Island's Half Moon Bay School. Campbell and a delegation are travelling the country with the competition trophy and official mascot Nancy on a promotional tour.
I think it definitely is, like, being in a smaller place and being isolated here can't be easy for kids to like be exposed to rugby, but New Zealand's like just a big community, and like rugby's definitely a sport that brings everyone together, so it's really amazing like that World Rugby's allowed us to come down here and like let even the kids in the smallest island like be involved and be a part of rugby, so it's a really cool opportunity.
Half Moon Bay School Principal Kath Johnson says it was an excellent opportunity to showcase rugby to the children, who are usually more likely to paddle a kayak than spiral past a rugby ball. Campbell led rugby drills and chatted with the pupils about their rugby aspirations in an effort to increase the sport's popularity on the island.
It's definitely groundbreaking, so it's just amazing to be a part of, because when I was younger there wasn't too much exposure on like women's rugby, so like to be a part of it and actually like be involved in being the change of women's rugby, it's just unreal. It's like a moment you can't really like talk about or like put into words, but it's just amazing that I'm allowed to be a part of this and hopefully going to make a difference, because a lot of women's rugby growth comes from exposure, like through media and things like that, so like just having this opportunity here, I know it's going to make a big change.
Campbell says talking footy with the southern pupils brought back memories of her own young start playing the game.
I think I was 4 years old and I was playing with the boys. It was a freezing cold Saturday morning. I didn't want to be there. My dad had forced me into play and I was not really looking forward to it, but as soon as I got the ball and scored my first try, I just fell in love with the game and I just never stopped since then.
The Cup's visit to Tarakiora Stewart Island is the first of a number planned in the lead-up to New Zealand hosting the Women's Rugby World Cup, and the island's children had a simple message for New Zealand's team in the competition. The Women's Rugby World Cup is due to be held in Auckland and Whangarei from early October to mid-November. On Stewart Island, the South today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. The government has announced a raft of changes, including the opening of New Zealand's borders 2 months ahead of schedule. A space balloon's departure from Wanaka today has been postponed due to poor weather, disappointing NASA staff. And educational support staff who don't get COVID leave are petitioning the government for equality with their teachers. And now a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT, and we welcome the Associate Editor, Jo Simpson. Kia ora, good evening, Jo. What can we expect in tomorrow's paper?
So we have the regional council chief executive, Sarah Gardner, has resigned, saying that she's leaving the council in good heart.
Yeah, big announcement.
It is.
Yeah.
Otago's reaction to the border reopening and tweaks to immigration, so we could have cruise ships back in the harbour by Christmas.
Yeah. Gosh, that will be, it's been like 2 years, I must be almost.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Years without seeing family can be hard, but a group of international students in Dunedin have made it through lockdowns and border closures with the support of each other in their school. Otago and Southland's aged residential care is in desperate position due to staffing shortages, and the fears are that the region's elderly will suffer as a result. And the Stewart Island visitor levy is going up to $10 next year and $15 in 2025.
Good changes, I would say. And staggered too.
Yes, yes.
That makes it easier for everybody.
Indeed.
Jo, thank you for sharing this evening.
you.
Look forward to tomorrow's paper.
Thank you.
And now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Looking at the situation, fine days ahead both tomorrow and Friday, with rain arriving again on Saturday with colder southwesterlies. Heading to the top of the South Island first, Nelson and Greymouth look fine tomorrow with light winds and 16 degrees, while Christchurch will wake up to a frost and thaw out to a fine, clear day reaching 15 degrees. To our southern towns now. Westerlies and a fine day through here tomorrow. The Catlins, Balclutha and Gore will all get a high of 15, with Lumsden creeping ahead to sit on 16 degrees. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes area, it's looking fine again with light winds. Wanaka heads for 18, Queenstown and Alexandra will both get to 17, and over in Te Anau it'll be fine with light westerlies and 15 degrees. To the northern towns next, and the light winds continue down the coast for Timaru and Oamaru, reaching 14 or 15 degrees. Twizel and Omarama just a touch warmer with 17 and 18. Down to Dunedin, fine and cold tonight with light frosts possible by dawn as it drops to 2 degrees overnight. Thursday looks sunny and cool, up to 14 and down to 5 degrees. And when Friday rolls around, expect high cloud and westerlies. The top temperature will be 15 before dropping to 8 overnight. And now to Invercargill. Fine and cold this evening in the deep south with an overnight low registering just 1 degree. Tomorrow looks like a cloudy one with light nor'westerlies reaching 16 as the high and down to 7. Lovely and fine on Friday with more high cloud and clean cut westerlies up to 15 degrees and dropping down to 8 as the low. That's the news this Wednesday. For the latest news and videos from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. Nō reira, kia pai te pō, ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On